Hey everyone, my name is Rooster. Welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video, we are facing against Math is Might once more, and looking at the packs here, I actually decided that I was ready to try some more Fang carry. So, Ball Fang opener it is, and we're up against Sledgehammers and Hounds with a cost control specialist. We are a supply specialist here, so I'd say we actually have a very good matchup. Supply spec has kind of always been one of the worst matchups for cost control, because at that point, he's only making 50 more supplies than me, which isn't, that big of a difference. And he also has weaker units. So we're definitely quite favored, at least in terms of that matchup. Ball Hound here, or Ball Fang, sorry, perhaps not the best. Into Sledgehammer Hound, he will be able to one-shot my Fangs. But, we have a decent slab of hit points, and Fang carry, honestly, it tends to be the weakest in the early game. You try to get through the early rounds and kind of start scaling through the mid and late game. I've been trying it out a bunch. I think sometimes it can fall flat, but if you can manage to survive and, get your comp going, get those levels on the Fangs, get to double or even triple tech on the Fangs, it is a scary late game composition. So here I just decided to go for triple Fang from the start and add 2 crawlers. I do think it's a good thing to try and mix both. One, because, well, you don't want your units to get insta-locked. And, crawlers are kind of going to be the chaff, whilst the Fangs will turn into a carry later on, so you don't want them to die. So you still need those units to kind of be able to take shots for you. For the time being, we actually do quite well. We managed to get that left side tower. My opponent went for a symmetrical defense, which I was quite happy with, because we did have a wall plus Chungus on that right side, so sometimes people will just double stack as a result, and we would have been in a worse spot because of it. But here we do quite well. Now you can see the small turret does end up killing a fair amount of my Fangs, and I won't be able to kill all of his units, but at the very least I managed to take out a good amount and not take too much damage. Now, round number 2 typically is the round where you want to go for range on your Fangs, and we get the Assault Fang card offered. I decide to pick it. I'm not convinced it is a ton better than, just playing regular Fangs with normal range, but you do get a nice amount of bonus attack with plus 50% and a nice amount of movement speed. So against someone like Cost Control, I mean, we are going to be able to take out his units a lot more easily this way. Because I sold both of my turrets already, I have the money to go for range on the Fangs, and I decided to buy 2 more. One here behind the tower to defend the flank, and one on the right to also defend the flank. If something were to show up, like a Wasp drop, I might add another Fang somewhere here to kind of cover any drops that may try to go for that right tower. But on this round, my opponent skipped and immediately decides to pick up Incendiary Bomb Hounds. Now, I wasn't expecting this whatsoever, because it just isn't something that I've seen Math is Might play. And already I was starting to think the setup looks familiar. It looks very much like something Factory Master would do, who does enjoy playing Hounds and almost always picks up Incendiary Bomb if he can. And yeah, you can see that the formation there, all behind the tower, this Hound near the flank. I mean, he's leaving some spaces there for perhaps some big units to show up. So I was starting to get a little bit anxious. Now, thankfully, in the unit drop, we managed to find a Sabertooth. I was looking for something that could intercept these missiles, and, well, I do run the tech on my Sabertooth, so I was happy to pick it. It's also a decent frontliner. For the time being, we'll likely have to find something better in the long term, but at least for now, we'll be able to stop the incendiary bombs immediately this way, and perhaps also put on some pressure. So, round number 3, we grab 2 extra sabers on top of the one that we got from the drop, and we pick up Missile Interceptor. This still leaves us with a bunch of money. I decided to pick up another Fang. I was thinking about perhaps picking up armor-piercing bullets already, which typically would be the flowchart, I think, for carry Fang. Try to get range on turn 2 and then AP on turn 3. That combination usually allows you to get some early levels going, which is what you need for the Fangs to become a proper carry and stop caring too much about things like armor. Now, my opponent picks up the Farseer, throws it on the right side. I do have a Fang pack there, but I mean, they're Assault Fangs, so they don't exactly have a lot of range. It does look like the Farseer will be able to take that down, which means we'll get debuffed. And while we were doing really well, On the left side, as you can see, no fire landed. The debuff will definitely make it so that it's going to be a lot harder for us to win. Thankfully, I still have some fangs left, and my saber is doing a good job. If we could get a debuff here, that would be huge. Nice debuff timer there right at the end before this blue saber goes down. It manages to kill a marksman, and I think this saber-tooth should be able to kill the Farseer that was still on the board. It also intercepts a few missiles here and there, but Farseer is hard to intercept. And that leaves us with round number 4, as I decided to take up a missile strike. Good units to hit here. Hound, Crawler, and Marksman all can get taken out. And my opponent just decides to skip. And yeah, I mean, the premonition here was correct. As he sells the Farseer, he has enough money to buy a War Factory. And I mean, this can be a decent counter to Fangs, for sure. It's a super tanky unit, 116,000 hit points, even on cost control. That is just going to be too tough to take out, most likely. And while I do have Sabers, I don't particularly love the matchup of Saber into War Factory. I feel like War Factory usually has the better end of the deal. But maybe if we can get some good lock-ons here, especially with the higher level Saber, we at least would be able to take it down this round and save ourselves from taking 500 extra damage. Now, 2 more Hounds have shown up on my flanks. Whilst I tried to attack the right side, you know, I was trying to parry the Farseer and at the same time make sure that I could pressure that tower, which we do get. However, these Hounds are slowly moving in to our tower. The ones on the right did get taken down, I think, by a missile. But sadly, this debuff won't help us. As you can see, we did chunk the factory a good amount. But it fights back during the debuff, takes out 2 of the Sabers, only have 1 remaining, and it does have a sizable range advantage over our units. And sadly, we are not going to be able to kill it there, as it lives on, I mean, I don't even know what that is, 2% of its hit points. Rough. 500 damage extra taken. Round number 5, quick TP, deployment module, and redeployment all showed up. Even haste module there, all great cards. Math decides to skip it. I do think I should pick up one of these. I mean, all of them are nice, but I'm going to go for the redeploy, as it will allow me to make multiple plays across rounds. And here I decided to move one of my Sabers to the flank so as not to, you know, waste a deployment on that and try to intercept these missiles from the Hound. And immediately I go for an Abyss. This is my preferred counter to Factory. Anytime I play against Factory Master, I will often be playing Abyss. And here it just felt like the correct thing to buy. Opponent already has a second factory on the board, by the way, with Steel Ball production, which is often the first tech clicked. And yeah, it has super good synergy, right, with the mechanical division on the Steel Balls. And yeah, just overall, a really, really powerful long-term tech. I undo to try and move one of my other Sabers here, because I could see that there were some Hounds in the middle firing missiles, so I wanted to try and keep intercepting those, whilst on the right side that wasn't really the case, so that's why I moved this one instead of the one in the middle. We still end up picking an Abyss here, and I decided to pick up a Hound because it was the cheapest unit that I could afford that could at least tank perhaps some Hound missiles here. I guess I could have put an Arc Light back there as well. Not the best way to deal with it, but hopefully good enough. Opponent doesn't have a lot of anti-air, by the way. It's only level 1 marksman, so as long as we can kill most of his units, we should be able to just win by default. Right side has managed to stall. The scary thing is, you know, that's not going to be able to deal with the factory, so I will get debuffed here at some point, but thankfully we are locked on to the factory on the left. We take it out. The Steel Ball that gets spawned immediately dies, and that is -1 marksman, and at this point, surely a level 1 marksman cannot take down a near full health Abyss. We take out the towers, we trade them. 1 Steel Ball trying to go for my second tower. That could be a problem. Does look like we'll get debuffed there, but thankfully we are locked on to the factory with our Abyss. The marksman tries to do its best. We do have to take out a couple Steel Balls, but yeah, cost control level 1 marksman cannot put up a fight here against the Abyss, and so we do manage to thankfully take a win. Round number 6, bunch of unit drops show up. And I mean, here I decided to go for the Phantom Rays just because, I mean, one, they're good flank defense, and two, they might be able to tank some shots for the Abyss. Just having more units around, things that, you know, resemble Wasps, have multiple bodies, can be nice to just prevent your Abyss from getting locked on for a little bit longer, buy it a bit more time. Opponent here goes for the Fire Badgers, and decides to sell one of them. Oil will be purchased. And I do not have a sprinkler tech here, so that is sadly not something that we're well equipped to deal with. Phantom on the flank, I decide to stack the left side for the time being. I do not have the money to go for another Abyss, so for the time being, we're mostly stalling on the right and hoping that we'll be able to make a difference on the left. Steel Balls with Link, by the way, have been purchased. That damage sharing tech, mostly to just boost the hit points of the Steel Balls immensely by 120%, which at times can make it difficult to kill the Steel Balls that spawn individually from the factory. And opponent goes for Melting Point as the answer to Abyss. Classic flowchart here, very much like Factory Master would play. And I decide to go for the Vertical Sweep tech, which is my favorite way to deal with Spawn Factory. I feel like this tech is like not very good in any other scenario, but specifically against this comp, it does wonders. Because any time that something spawns from the factory, the Abyss might get stuck on it, but because right behind it sits the factory, you will often be able to make some hits happen. And yeah, look at that, right? We're not locked onto the factory, but we did manage to chunk it. And you only need that to happen a couple of times to be in a good spot. There we go. We lock onto a Fang, but we also graze the factory and take it out. Sadly, though, we are not able to take down the Melter. And yeah, the fire did not help whatsoever, taking down all of our chaff. So, on round number 6, we are going to take, you know, a sizable amount of damage here and probably move to around 2k hit points. Not sure what's still alive there. Looked like 2 Fangs. And yeah, even dipping below 2k there, 1700 hit points. Round number 7, I thought I had finally dealt with all the fire, but another incendiary bomb decides to show up. And nothing here really looks that good for me. I guess I could try and buy the fire myself too. Although most likely Mathis Might will shield on the left, but I could try and maybe put it on the right. Looking at the board though, there's not that much chaff to burn, so perhaps it's just a skip angle. Heavy armor, not a bad pickup either. Definitely a good item on things like Phantoms, so I think it's worth the 100 credits there. Another Abyss shows up. I mean, I did talk about this, right? Like, we didn't have the money to go for a second Abyss. Now we're able to stabilize the board a bit more and also try to avoid, you know, the left side, or at least have another part of the army that could be successful and, you know, kind of pick up the slack for all of my chaff that's going to burn on that left side. We also move a Sabertooth. I mean, we are using that redeploy. The Steel Ball was sitting right in front of it and just instantly killing my Saber, so better to move things around. I'm not going to invest more in these. All they're supposed to do is block the incendiary bombs from the Hounds. Luckily, we do have Missile Strike again, so hopefully here I'll be able to scam the tower, get rid of all the chaff, and allow this Abyss to do what it does best. We also pick up some Wasps. I think it's a good turn to do that. They pair nicely with the Abyss, and they are annoying for the melting points to kill. And on this round, you know, I knew the fire would be there, so good to buy some aerial chaff. And yeah, look at that lock-on. Instantly killing one of the factories, and now the tower is relatively exposed. Wasps are doing a good job of blocking the melters from locking on. If we can get a debuff, perhaps while this Abyss is still alive, we can even kill the factory, because it is locked onto it. And some Wasps even decided to travel across to annoy the melters on the left side. A Sabertooth managed to stay alive. This Abyss is doing a fantastic job. Eventually, it does get targeted. Sadly, it misses the tower by a hair, but I think we have enough chaff here for the Abyss to prevail. And very happy about how this turn played out, because, yeah, the fire definitely a problem for us. Thankfully, at least I thought, We would have no more fire this round, but now fire badgers get offered again, as Mathis Might sold both of his badgers, so with none on the board, they can show up once more, and they do. I was expecting for him to pick this, just to try and, you know, put more fire down, maybe go for Scorching Charge, or even like Napalm, anything of the sort, and, well, he does pick them. For myself, I'm not looking for that much. I could try and just pick the Overlord and sell it. I could go for the Fire Badgers too if I just want more bodies on the board to try and annoy the melting points, but I felt like I needed the money here, as more abysses, more levels would be a nice thing to have, and that's exactly what we do. Yeah, you can see here, Scorching Charge Badgers are there. I mean, at this point, I might start considering buying some Hounds with Sprinkler because, you know, 2 turns from now, Sticky Oil Bomb will be back. After that, Incendiary Bomb. And it's getting a little bit, you know, tricky to keep all of my chaff alive. The good thing about Scorching Charge is that the burnt area does not stay on fire for very long, so the late chaffs should still be able to survive, and oftentimes the fangs will be able to live as well as they keep their distance for long enough that the fire goes away. More melting points show up, and energy diffraction has been picked up, which is something that Factory Master used to do as well to try and deal with wasps. I think now he's decided to move away from that, and he tends to just buy Wraith to deal with opponents who go wasps against him. Whether this will work, we'll have to see. The fire does land, but you can see it subsides rapidly, meaning that some of our crawlers are able to get through. Abyss locked on. Abyss on the right, which we added, managed to snipe the tower there with vertical. I mean, that is one of the most satisfying things in the game. And it allows my other Abyss to completely crush the right side. We get the second debuff as well. And here we're just going to keep 3 Abysses alive, plus a whole bunch more units, meaning that we more than equalize things. Mathis Might almost dies on round 9. Or rather, round 8, as this is round number 9. Enhancement module shows up. It doesn't get picked up by Mathis Might. Nothing too important here. I mean, I was a bit afraid of Rhino Assault, because if we look at my defense, it's not the best. I think the left tower is defended. We do have a Phantom Ray there. The right side has that Sabertooth and the Fang. But yeah, the middle, this diagonal is a little bit open. So I was a bit afraid. So I believe I'm just going to be picking this and throw it somewhere in the back. I know that I have a hit point and attack advantage because my opponent is cost control. So it seemed like the easiest way to deal with this without needing to buy units and use my limited deployments to try and, you know, hedge against a potential Rhino drop in the back. Third tech gets picked up here for Mathis Might, as he now goes for energy absorption and tries to make sure that his melters stay alive if they manage to connect. I go for a second tech on my Abyss, and it's going to be the Swarm Missiles. The idea here is that it can scam some of the more stagnant units on the enemy board, so if they have Fangs, Hounds, Marksmen, they can end up dying, and also the towers will often end up getting sniped by missiles down the line. I decided to buy a third Abyss. We're really kind of stacking the right side here to pressure as much as possible and get that first tower debuff going. Left side is not being invested in too much, although it does have the strongest Abyss. And, well, let's see how this plays out. More Fire Badgers have been picked up. Napalm picked up as well, which I think does stick around for longer than the Scorching Charge. Yeah, you can see here the fire does burn for a little longer, meaning that I lose more fangs on this particular turn. But the Abyss, it managed to hit the tower, but because of the tower level up from Math there, you're actually not quite able to take it down. And as the melters start to lock on to my Abysses, they are able to just outright tank the beam, especially this level 3 melter on the left side just does not seem to care much. On the right side, we eventually power through, but at that point, I've lost most of my chaff, and I'm not too confident that we'll be able to win this round. Abysses are trying to move in, but you can see that absorption is making a big difference. I get debuffed, the second melter moves up, and around number 9, you're not able to finish things, and we even go down to 1,000 hit points. So round 10, it could still go either way from the looks of things. On this round, tank production line shows up. could be worth picking for Math if he wants it on one of his melters. Portable shield, not bad either, just doubles the hit points outright, so that's what he goes for. I decided to skip. I didn't feel like any of those items were really worth it, and I'm mostly looking to get more levels on my abysses where possible, because we saw that we did hit that tower, but because of the level 1 abyss, it wasn't able to immediately one-shot it. Now, at this point, Sticky Oil Bomb is back, and honestly, I felt rather confident that my board could win with the help of Abyss levels, and that meant I was okay using my deployments here to get some hounds on the board with Sprinkler. Because if I lose all the chaff again, it just doesn't put me in a good spot. And while the napalm, you know, and the scorching charge doesn't last that long, this oil, when ignited, does stick around for, you know, long enough to basically kill all of my ground-based chaff. So you will just see me pick up Sprinkler Hounds on round 10. And, well, that leaves us with a lot of money to upgrade more abysses, which is exactly what we do. So doubling the stats on both of them does increase the power of our board tremendously. Temp range, temp speed have been picked up. Missile strike in the middle to try and just kill a chaff pack and maybe some hounds. And at that point, we just have a look. I also make sure that I don't fully beacon in this abyss, because I could see last round that when I did that, the abyss ended up getting targeted really early on and died as a result of it. And now let's see, as the abyss does manage to hit the factory once there. And oh my god, look at that. Left side, the abyss clutches up as it manages to instantly take the tower because of the level. That didn't happen beforehand, so some way, somehow there, a unit managed to save me, and that ends up being really beneficial to us. We managed to take the second tower as well with those missiles, as I mentioned earlier, and that means that we are able to close out on round 10. Yeah, this game had it all. Fire, Fangs, and Titans. You know, to your heart's desire. Even triple tech melters on the other side. Yeah, interesting to see Math play this. It's a playstyle that we are quite familiar with at the High Mars, because again, Factory Master loves to play this flowchart. I hadn't ever played Fangs with Abyss, but yeah, I think it's mostly just the case that Abyss is very good into factories, and as long as you make sure that you have some chaff, you know, some air chaff, some ground-based chaff, just some units to stick around, and you have okay chaff clear, which in this case with the Assault Fangs and the levels, honestly, we weren't doing too bad of a job of, you should be able to win. We definitely got some really nice tower snipes there with vertical sweep. I still love this tech, and yeah, just a nice game overall. I think if, you know, Math wanted to win this, perhaps he should have not gone for the energy diffraction and instead tried to go for some Wraith to try and chaff clear the Wasps. But it's hard to say. You know, he did manage to win that round earlier. Perhaps tower levels here would have helped out a ton as well. My Abyss somehow managed to scam the tower there on the left, and I do think it made a massive difference on the right, because we did lose some units there, even with the debuff. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you thought of it. Have you ever played, you know, either side of this matchup? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.